Hello, and welcome to Ask John. This is actually the third episode of Ask John. This is a show where important people ask John some important questions and sometimes some not so important questions. And occasionally, and more so today, John's going to ask an important person a lot of questions. So I'll be asking a lot of questions today. Today, we have as our guest Mary Ann Maggiore. Welcome, Mary Ann.
I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'm really happy that you decided to join us. Mary Ann is actually a very important person and has quite a background and quite a resume, and I'm not going to take a lot of time. I'll let her tell you what she thinks is important about her resume, but a couple of things. She was mayor of Fairfax. How long ago?
About 10 years ago.
Yeah. So are you still into politics at all? Community politics?
I love watching and commenting.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that it had its high points.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. And also, she's had a commendation from a president. Mm-hmm. And what was that about?
I was the head of Girl Scouts Save the Bay in our unit, which served 54,000 girls in the Bay Area. Got a commendation. He was very pleased that we were doing it, and we were pleased to be doing it.
That's really amazing. That's great. And right now she's the employment, we're calling it the Millennial Employment Director of 5 for 5 Job Initiative.
Right, and the job initiative is called Launch, and it's rolling along quite nicely.
Okay. So as is our standard here, you have to start by asking me a question.
Oh, okay. Well, John, how have you been doing in what you're doing? I know that you are an investment advisor, and I think it's time for people to start thinking about that.
Yeah. Well, doing great. It's quite a challenge because everyone needs a different kind of look at their investment portfolio. Mm. Everyone is different, and we have a system that looks into it and figures out what people's goals are and what their objectives are. And when they're my age, maybe they've gotten there already, or maybe they haven't. But it's never too late. Mm. And it's just that at certain ages we can be more aggressive than at other ages, and we apply all kinds of standards to this whole thing about portfolio construction that has to do with your risk tolerance and your goals and objectives, your time period. And then most important is that you are aware that whatever you decide to do, you need to stick with it, especially if you decide that you like an aggressive portfolio that's volatile, that you're really committed to it. So when it goes down, you have to stay with it so it'll come back up again. Uh-huh. Anyway, it's quite a challenge, and I really enjoy it. The thing I enjoy most about my business is the human connection. That I've managed my business now in a way that my clients are all my friends, and I know a lot about them. I know them really personally, and I know a lot of their personal issues, and they know a lot about me, and they know my personal issues, which is sometimes. I guess it's always a good thing, when I'm a real human being. I think that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
And I think often about what I am accomplishing for my clients in terms of, let's see, it's about the money. It's all about the money, isn't it? Isn't it, Mary Ann? Is it all about the money? No, it's not. It's not really about the money. And
I thought you were going to say something different, and you are.
I like to think that I help people get the money out of the way so they can really concentrate on the important things and the important things that you're dealing with. I think you're doing a wonderful service for the community.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about what you're doing.
Okay. Well, as we were saying, Launch is a millennials employment agency. People 18 to 30 are welcome to come to us, and our goal is to see that everybody in our community has a job. And right now, according to the statistics that have been circulating from Morgan Stanley, the Federal Reserve Bank, about 20% of all people between the ages of 18 and 30 are either unemployed or underemployed, even in our community, which means that eventually we're going to have some sort of a crisis if we don't take care of this. and it will be a psychological and spiritual crisis. Having a job is a really important part of our lives, having good work. But it also means that if we don't attend to our youth in this way, finding them jobs, which is what Launch does, then what will happen is they won't be able to buy houses, buy cars, pay taxes, invest money, and so it will be a very trying, difficult time for the whole of us. So I think that our model is a good one, and we would like to see anybody from any economic strata, whether they're financially at risk, middle class, or affluent, can come to us and get help, directly get help. That we can actually put them in a place with people who want to hire them and get them going.
So how do you work that? How does that?
Well, usually after an event like this, which is so wonderful to be in, to be here, a parent calls us and tells us the story on the phone, the kind of a session on the phone, and then we meet with the young person for one session, and then the young person and I decide if we can work together. And then we spend 8 weeks working on getting a resume together, getting a cover letter together, but then also meanwhile, focusing on assessing what is it that this person could do that would fulfill them, would be meaningful and lucrative, and then placing them in front of people in the community who are looking for them.
So how is that going for you?
It's going really well. We have people who may have struggled in school or dropped out and need to have an interim job. Some people have finished college and they need to get started on their first big job or the first step to the big job. And we have had people who have become ambulance drivers. Some people have become financial planners. Some people are in healthcare. Some people are teaching. But it helps to have a guide to go along your way, and that's what we do.
Do you have any idea how many people you've helped so far?
Over 100.
Yeah.
We've been doing it for 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It started as 5 for 5 in South Central Los Angeles, where my daughter was teaching, and here in Novato and San Rafael primarily, where we would go into schools and run a workshop, a fun workshop that would show young people what they might do in life through some games. And then we would ask them if they wanted help. And if they did, then we helped them get into college and then find a job. But finding a job wasn't the first thing. We were really concerned about their education. But soon we found that Bound for College and 10,000 Degrees were doing a great job getting everybody into college and on a roll who wanted to. And so we decided to concentrate on the next step, which was, what about the job? How important is the job? The job is very important. Employment of some sort. Some people do become entrepreneurs, and we're happy to help that because we are too.
Right. Yes, you are.
Yeah,
yes, you are.
Yeah. So Launch is a division of what was called the mothership, which is called 5 for 5, because we choose
and the
our young people.
5 has been around for quite a long while.
Yeah, for 15 years.
And I thought it was more broad than you're saying. It was just in L.A. and.
LA, San Rafael, and Novato, here in Novato.
Yeah.
And we called it 5 for 5 because we chose the students in teams of 5 for 5 years. But then we realized we really wanted to make sure they had a job. And so we called this section Launch.
Launch, yeah.
And this is
excellent.
my baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good for you. Mm-hmm. And so you've helped more than 100.
Yeah. And
That's
over 85% of the people we've worked for have fulfilled their goals. So we must be doing something right.
You are doing something right.
Yeah.
I have some pictures here of some of the people that you are doing.
Sure.
I don't know if we can see that or not.
So here we have some of our first students. This young man is becoming a surgical nurse at Kaiser. These two are brothers, and he's running a bookkeeping service that he established. He is a veterinarian assistant. He's in finance for the city of San Francisco. She's in real estate in Hawaii. She's a dental assistant, and he is a statistician.
So these people had their picture all taken together, so they must be in the same class, right?
That's right. They were in the same
So
5 for 5.
What
yeah.
class was, how long ago
That
was
was
this?
that was our first group, and now they are fully established. And
So when would that have been?
that was 15 years ago. And then
really?
we had them for 7 years, because sometimes it takes longer than 5.
So do you ever get to see them later on?
Constantly.
Oh, do they?
Oh, yeah,
that's
yeah.
wonderful. Yeah.
This person became a member of our board, and he recently stepped down, and this person is the next member of our board. We always have a youth member of our board, on our board.
Yeah.
And so that's a great help, because they can, Alberto was wonderful, and now Dennis, the young man in the back, he is taking his place.
That's got to be so gratifying.
Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah.
really incredible.
I'm going to hesitate just for a moment to ask you this question. This is not a fair question, but I'm going to ask anyway. Do you have any failures? Do you have any?
Once in a while, somebody will just drop out, or they. It's rare to have a failure. In other words, what usually happens is the person shifts what they wanted to be. I'll give you an example. A young woman came to me, and she wanted to work with babies, and she thought she wanted to go into something in the healthcare field, but she didn't have the grades for it, and she was thwarted. And when she tried it out in college, community college, she was like not doing well. Okay. And so we sat her down and said, maybe you could look at this a different way. Think of babies in a larger sense, and come back to us, and let's think about this. And she found a job was available at a baby consignment store. And so she called me and she said, would this fit? And we said, yeah, definitely, it would be great. She said, but I need a reference. And so we provided the reference. And the thing we said to the person who was hiring her was, listen, this young person is really precious to us, and we want to make sure that she's not going to be standing as a cashier at the front for the next 4 or 5 years. You have to train her to do more things, so you enlarge her life. You have to pledge that to us. And she said, oh, yes, I could see that she's bright, and she could do that, and she'll be working on inventory next, and merchandising and advertising.
And then do you track this situation for 4 or 5 years?
Yeah,
Amazing.
we watch over them.
Yeah. Oh,
it's really fun.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's very rewarding.
Very
so now we've begun to work with people who are not financially at risk necessarily, but are middle class or affluent, because people have come to us and said, why don't you do this for my kid? I have a student or a graduate who's struggling. And so we started to see them too.
Yeah, and in my business, we're facing this different approach to financial planning because of exponential technology, and I'm affiliated. I have an affiliation with Rick Edelman, who wrote this book. Let's see, it's right there. The Truth About Your Future, where what he's talking about is the number of people who will have several retirements when they maybe get out of school and they're a technician of some type, and then this technology comes in and replaces them, and now they're without work.
Right.
And so they need to be prepared for that,
right,
so that they can get themselves in school again, retrained, or just have a retirement of a few years while they readjust, and then go back to work in some other field.
Right.
And that's going to impact the people that you're working with.
Oh, definitely, definitely. The studies show that you'll probably in your lifetime, and I think this shows up in your life, and it certainly has shown up in mine, in your lifetime you will probably have 3, 4, 5 careers.
Yeah.
But the first one in your 20s is really critical and can really help you see a larger world. And one of the things that we've discovered in working with the middle class and affluent students is that oftentimes they are not prepared to have to suffer failure or hit a roadblock, and they don't know what to do, because the beauty of where we live is that so many people have so many resources, parents have so many resources, and they want to have their children have great experiences, especially when they're children, that the young people that we see often from the middle and affluent classes are unprepared for failure or unprepared for roadblocks and obstacles. And so we have to help both the parents and the young person to see that this is a natural, normal stage, and you got to suffer through it and get over it. And we help them see what the next stage is.
Yeah, that suffering through is the hard part. And it may be,
It can't be
it may be
missed.
hard,
You can't avoid it.
it may be harder for the parents.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just an obstacle that can be overcome, but you can't wash it away. And sometimes parents say, oh my God, my son is like really in trouble because he doesn't know what he's going to do next, and we don't know how to solve it. And they look away from what about living through it? And so sometimes they keep their son or daughter at home a long time. They don't encourage them to go out and try new things. They have also, a lot of times with middle class and affluent parents of a certain age, they have forgotten their own suffering that was so important to their growth. And so we have to help both the young person and the parents understand that there's going to be some difficulties, there will be some successes, but there will sometimes be some roadblocks, failures, whatever. And that's natural, it's okay.
It's part of the that's where the growth is.
That's
The
where the
growth is
growth
in the
is.
pain. Huh?
Right, right.
Yeah. We were talking earlier about how that kind of fits in with this sort of, not a philosophy, but a point of view about investing. If you're going to be an aggressive investor, you are going to have some downturns. And if you don't suffer through it, if you bail out, you're really going to hurt yourself.
Right.
And
Right.
it's really important to stick with it so that you can recover. And,
Yeah.
And you learn so much by, if you suffer through downturns, two or
Right.
three of them,
Right.
then you really learn something.
Right.
You learn something about yourself, and you learn something about the market, and you learn how to be an investor.
Yeah, I had heard that only those investments that do have a little volatility are worth doing over the long run.
I would.
Is that true?
Yeah, I would say that just a little bit differently, though. I would say it's the volatility that drives the long-term growth. So
Right.
a portfolio that has very little volatility. You're
Right.
doing a great job asking questions. This is what the show's all about.
Well, I
Thank
wanna
you so
learn,
much.
too.
I want to encourage this right now.
Right.
Okay, so volatility. If you don't have volatility, you can be in income, you can be in bonds and cash, and you have a little bit of growth, and you have certain growth, but not
Right.
much,
Right.
and no volatility.
Right.
The only way to get really good growth over the long term is to experience the volatility. And then if you're not willing to experience, some of my clients are not willing to experience the volatility, and so I have less aggressive portfolios. But we
Yeah.
can do a mix.
Right.
We can kind of mix and match and just get the right kind of volatility for the particular client. That's one of the things I enjoy most about my business, is kind of assessing how much risk a client and how much volatility a client will
Can handle, can
handle.
withstand.
Yeah. Because it's really important that once we set that portfolio and move it along,
Right.
you just have to stay with it.
Right. Yeah. And
Anyway.
that's how parents need to be with their young people.
Yes.
Because they lost a job, or they moved to a city and they thought the job was going to work out and it didn't, or they fell in love and they lost their love. These are hard things to watch, but if you just understand your own life and the volatility of human life.
When you get to be my age, you realize that this is life.
Right.
And we have this point of view that if we just solve this problem, we could get on with our life.
Right,
No.
right.
This is our life.
Right, that's
This
right.
problem is
That's
my
right.
life.
That's
Yeah,
right.
so-
That's one thing about cliches. They're so often true. Like your grandmother used to say, "This too shall pass." You think, well, what kind of statement is that? But that's true.
It is true.
This too
Yeah,
shall pass.
yeah.
So I wanted to give you an example of some of the challenges. We have, the poverty is definitely a challenge, and we have to override that, and so that's how we started. But with the middle class and affluent young people, what we find is there might be an artistic bent, or they might have had a dream as a child that they think that they can't pursue, or they haven't really looked at it as a dream that is being fulfilled, that they are on the path, they're not noticing it. I'll give you an example. I gave a talk at a college psychology class, and I gave them a map to map 0 to 6, your age, 7 to 12, 12 to 15, all the way up to the present time. And 0 to 6, I asked you in each of those segments, I asked, what was your dream? What did you dream of doing when you were growing up, when you would grow up? What do I want to be when I grow up? And so the class all took the little papers and went at it. And one young woman, when they were all finished, said she had a question for me. And I said, I welcome that. I just want to remind all of you that a lot of times the dreams we have are metaphors. They're like symbols that tell us the future. So let's see what's going on with you. And she said, yeah, I don't understand what this map is about, because when I was 0 to 6, I wanted to be a princess. And now I'm not, that doesn't seem like anything that anybody should be.
Is that possible?
Right.
Yeah.
And
No,
I said, well,
it is,
here you are in your 20s, and you've had some experience as a teacher. I said, what are you training for at this college? And she said, I'm training to become a principal. And I said, you don't think that's royalty in a castle that you are ruling? And she loved it, because it's a metaphor that oftentimes you have a dream like that as a child that becomes something like that, if you will permit it, in your future.
Yeah, I just had this flash about, there was a time in my life I wanted to be a dentist, and I'm thinking, well, maybe I am kind of a dentist.
Yeah. You're looking into the innards of a person's life, which is what a dentist does, right?
Yeah.
And you're hoping to cure some aspect
you
of
want
it.
to help people.
Definitely.
Let's see what we were. Did we actually get to this? I have a note here to ask you about the 2 duties of a parent.
Oh, yeah.
I think we touched on it.
Yes, this is something that is often hard for parents, and I learned it. It just kind of came out of my mouth when I was talking to a man at a cocktail party who knew of my work and with the at-risk students, and he said, explain it to me. So I explained it to him, and he said, I wish you would do that for my son. And I said, well, what's happening? And he said, well, I put him through college, and then I put him through a master's program, and then he's all finished, and he comes to me and he says he needs a new car. And this man was a very successful businessman. And I said to him, I don't want to give you a car. And he replied, you have the money. And so I said, look, there's 2 aspects of parenting that are your requirements, and here they are. Number 1, you have to create a strong ego. You've already done that. Your son is giving you guff. Right? He has a strong ego.
He knows what he needs.
The second thing of being a parent is you have to make sure that ego can integrate itself into society and become an adult. You haven't done the second part. So what you have to do is say to him frankly, yes, I could buy you a new car, but I don't want to. And tell him the truth. These are my 2 tasks as an adult. As an adult parent for you, is I have to do these 2 things, and I haven't done the second. Now you and I have to work on the second. And he didn't buy his son a car, and he insisted that his son get a job. That's how it works.
That worked.
Yeah.
That worked in this. You've seen that
many times. Many times.
And, And how about the situation where the son, daughter have some special challenges?
Well, we have worked with some people who are autistic. We've worked with some people who are coming out of severe addiction, and had some very nice successors. And so that we're available.
Same principles apply, you think? Or do you modify them somewhat?
Yeah, you modify them somewhat. They need more closely watched experiences. They often need to volunteer or train somewhere as a volunteer. I have a young man right now who's training in a dog training program, and he would like to be a dog walker, and he has had some struggle in his life that were really hard. And so just take it little by little so that he gets there without undue conflict. Because when you have like an addiction, or you're struggling with some sort of special education situation, you've probably suffered enough already, and you need to be in a place where it goes more smoothly and steadily towards a goal. That's important. Yeah. But I do want to say that I've had struggle in my own life as a parent, and I walk my talk. My daughter was just incredibly easy. She did everything she needed to do in high school. She applied for a scholarship for college. She knew exactly where she wanted to go. She got the scholarship. She went through college. She did 4 years, boom, 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 boom. She's married. She has children. She has a wonderful job. She's been named as one of the, she was named early in her photography career as one of the 50 artists to watch in Los Angeles. So she's like an angel.
Amazing,
Amazing child.
Yeah.
My son was different.
Well,
he
we
had
have a picture
some
of your
severe,
son here, so
he had some
just take a
struggles.
look at
Right, he had
Mary
some
Ann
real
and-
struggles.
Yeah.
He didn't
get
like
that?
school. He didn't like school from day one. He in high school he didn't go to classes. He got into trouble. He was just so I said to him, "What's your plan here?" And he said, "I want to just take my GED and get out of here. And I'd like to be in the theater, but I don't want to be in acting." He had done a lot in acting and in technical arrangements and technical work in the theater in high school. And so I got him trained as a stage electrician, and he came out of it flying colors and got him into theaters. He got himself into theaters in San Francisco, and he was coming home at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, drunk and stoned and just a mother's nightmare. And I'm a single parent, and this was too much. And so I needed to fortify myself and to also turn him in a new direction. So I suggested that I asked him, if you could go any place in the world right now, I need you to get out of this house. I need you to find your way. And I think travel would be good. Where would you go? And he said, Thailand. And I said, okay, I'm going to give you, you're leaving in
Just
a
like
week.
that, he knew.
Yeah. Well, he was a stoner, so whatever. So you're going to leave in a week.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, you're going to leave in a week, and you're going to spend your own money for 30 days while you're there. I happen to know that you have enough money in your bank account. You're going to do this. And he goes, well, I don't want to go. And I said, you have no choice. You're going. So I took him to the airport. He left, and he was gone for 30 days. And then in that 30 days, he met the tsunami had happened before that, and he met some people who were going to a relief camp who persuaded him to travel with them and go to this relief camp to do some building. And so he went to this relief camp where 1,000 people in this village were stuck living on newspaper in a field. And there was a team of American, Italian, and German carpenters who were building houses for them. And so they got a bunch of, Max started working and loved it. And he wrote me, he wasn't coming back in 30 days, he was doing this. And he watched as the houses were finished. The lead carpenters went to the tribal leaders and said, okay, we finished a bunch of houses. Who gets houses? Do you want to give the first houses to the elderly? Do you want to give the first houses to people with babies? What are we going to do here? And the tribal leader said, well, we'll meet as a village tonight and we'll tell you in the morning. The morning comes, Max is standing next to the lead carpenter, and the carpenter says, okay, what's happening? And the tribal leader says, until everyone has a house, no one moves into a house.
Oh.
And Max went, whoa, that's amazing. And the American leader said, well, how are we going to do this? And the tribal leader said, we're going to work really fast.
Work really fast.
And so Max walked 6 miles to a computer at a neighboring town and wrote me, my life is in the theater. I'm moving to New York. I'm not coming back to San Francisco. And so he went to New York and spent years in New York.
He didn't want to be involved in building houses fast.
Well, he stayed the extra 30 days.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so he went through the construction?
yeah, he
did
worked
all
there.
that?
Yeah. He kept with it.
I didn't
And
get that part of it.
then
Well,
he
good
came
for him.
back, and then he went to New York, and he worked in New York as a stage electrician for many years. And then when he was 25, he and I met on a trip, and he said he needed to, the artist in him had been satisfied with the theater, but the scientist in him, which was always kind of bubbling, needed time. So he was going to apply to engineering school, and a year ago he graduated magna cum laude from Stern School of Engineering at CCNY, and now he is an engineer.
And you're a proud mom.
I am a proud mom. Both my kids.
Yes.
I was really lucky with one, and the other one gave me all the training I needed.
Oh, that's great. Well, this has been fun.
Yes, I'm so glad we're doing it.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
too.
Yeah.
You're just about out of time. Is there any last thing you want to cover?
I just want to tell folks, if you're a parent and you have someone in your family that is troubling you, or a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle, please do get in touch. I'm Mary Ann Maggiore. Maggiore is like the lake in Italy. And you can find me online, 5for5.org, or you can call me or text me, 415-577-6627, and I'm happy to hear from you.
And stay tuned, we'll have all this on the credits.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
okay.
And you should get in touch with John. He's wonderful to talk to. He's very patient and knowledgeable, and I think that volatility, that market, you could enter at any time and enjoy it.
It's never too late.
That's right. It's never
Okay,
too
no,
late
it's
for
never too
either
late.
one of our
That's
professions.
right, that's right.
There we go.
You're going to be dealing with 40-year-olds pretty soon,
That's right.
launching their second and third careers.
If I have my wish, everybody will be covered.
Good.
Thanks,
Okay,
John.
well, thank you very much, Mary Ann. And thank you for joining us. This has been a pleasure, and I hope you will stay tuned for more to come. Take care.